All set? Okay. So this morning, we're gonna do fire. The chief is here. Ralph, I thought I'd let you go first about fire, and then we'll turn it over to Eric. Eric, I know this is repetitious, but I just totally mean it, that the board feels the fire, they're great. And we know the obstacles and the pitfalls and the membership and the lack of, and the drivers. We all know that, but I want to speak to, and we're all, you especially, are working on all that. But again, I want to say to you that we're very proud of the fire department. That's not just words, okay? You don't have to be a member to be proud of the fire department. Under your leadership, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, I'm very glad you're there because you bring an expertise to the department. Your training is second to none, and that's what it's all about, the training. I said that to the police chief the other day when we did his budget. It's mandatory to do certain training, but we want, and I'm saying this to you too, so is the board, we want you to go over and above what is mandatory, because that's a great department for whatever happens, whether it's an ice rescue or a structure fire or a car accident. You know that you know much more than I know. So thank you. Okay, Mr. Ralph.
For those who want to know what page I'm looking at page 8 of the requested budget, where the fire department's requests are. The first two lines, equipment and contractual, I'm going to let Eric talk about those in a minute. The other three lines on that part of the budget, truck room rental, he has nothing to do with that. The workers' comp insurance, same. That's not something that comes in his budget. The cancer coverage is something, and I'm assuming that last year we had no idea what it was going to cost, and you did drop it some from what you had requested, so I'm assuming that you did get some input on what the cost is going to be.
So we've already made the payment, our first payment, but we guessed off of like what Georgia, state of Georgia charged. And then finally it became effective in January, and we looked, we bought the basic plan available in New York State, and it was a substantial savings. There was one thing we learned as it came out, that it's who we cover that's an interesting little matrix there. It's not everybody, it's interior firefighters, but even if they leave and they were eligible, we have to cover them up to 5 years. So I did have to, I left myself some buffer because I do expect to cover more people than we do this state.
Right, my only, of what I've read about it, is interior firefighters. Well, the firefighter manning the engine and the pumps and whatever is getting some of that same smoke, but he's not having to be covered.
Well,
That to me
again,
is,
it got very complex because, and the State Office of Fire Prevention and Control actually has a person dedicated to this.
Yeah.
So I've actually spoken with him a couple of times, but if you were an interior firefighter and then you continue to serve,
yeah, that I understand.
maybe, no, and you continue to serve and you're not that criteria anymore, you are still covered.
Yeah, but
So,
Only 5 years?
no,
But the firefighter manning the engine, he's not wearing
yeah, but
his
he's not
mask.
covered.
He's not covered, but he's inhaling the same smoke, and that, to me, is a fallacy in that law, but I'm not here to
And they
argue.
based it completely off, you know what, they had to get a criteria, and I think
Yeah.
the Association of Fire Districts and stuff said, don't give us too many people. So the criteria is they had to have a entrance physical and
Right, but,
beforehand, and then 5 fit tests. So the old timers never got those.
yeah, but, so anyway, that is something, it's a new item.
Notice Eric looked at me, the old timer, and said,
No, I didn't.
The amount that we put in the budget was based on, I guess, Eric's best guesstimate.
Like I said, Georgia, state of Georgia had that law, and we kind of guessed based on their prices, yeah.
Now, the only comment that, and then I'll turn it over to you to discuss it, in your equipment is $25,000 for a command vehicle. All right? I don't think you can buy that vehicle for $25,000. Right now, in the class account, for command vehicle is a little over 20,000. We have 5,000 for the current year to put in, so we'll have 25,000 as of May 31
So I have
Are you-
25,000 here,
and 25.
and 25, and 5, 55.
All right. So your plan is to use up.
I'm not even sure I can do it with that,
All right.
because, I'm gonna figure it out. I mean, I have this plan in my head, how, here's the other thing. So, I've kind of been following the cancer thing, and, the only type of vehicle I'm willing to buy is a pickup truck. I mean, that's the new kind of way, it's the clean side, dirty side concept where everything goes in the back in a cap. So, you know, we're basically gonna have to put this vehicle together ourselves. We're gonna have to buy a cap, we're gonna buy a slide out. Oh, we could buy it from somebody else and they would do it down in Jersey, but we're not gonna be able to afford that. So myself and Assistant Chief Suarez have a plan in our heads how we're gonna pull the command module out of the older one. We'll use some local help, Danny Zinn, you know, we have a plan on how to do it, but we'll be strained doing it with that amount, but I also understood the economic, you know, thing there.
Is this vehicle replacing one that's already there?
Yes,
Okay, nice.
it's a 2008
There's no
Durango.
state thing that can help out.
You know, so I've talked to Kenny because he has researched, he's interested in the pickup truck. There are some on the state bid, and I have seen that GM has this, so I have to look at those, but I still think we're gonna have to buy a cap ourselves, buy a slide out thing, figure out all that kind of stuff. Again, people are buying these all the time now, but we can't afford to use Odyssey or one of these other conversion things. But in the same respect, I wouldn't be asking this if I didn't think we could do it. Like, you know, Steve's a mechanic, you know, we could get our radio guy who's kind of cheap, you know. Yeah, but I know it's a challenge with what they cost these days. Vales Gate has had a bunch of these, and they were replacing them, and I was trying to buy one of theirs, but they're not selling them. They're keeping them and adding to their fleet, so. And listen, if there's a quality used one, I would look at that, but I have not seen one. Yeah.
So that's the only question that I had, so anything else you wanna talk about on
So
equipment?
your feeling was what, that I had under budgeted?
No, no,
Oh,
I just,
okay.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if you were planning to use what's been put in
Oh,
reserve.
I think I would need
Yeah, all right.
everything, I mean, maybe not initially. Again, Kenny has some prices. The state contract with the vehicles is not completely straightforward right now, so.
Right, because a couple of years ago, you had been putting them into reserve for whatever the other equipment was it turnout gear or something, whatever it was, I can't
Oh,
remember.
the SCBA for the equipment, but we used
We
that up.
used that up and
And
there's
we
now.
completed it, we didn't even budget for it
Right.
last year,
There's
so we're
nothing,
good.
right.
Right now, there's just shy of 51,000 in vehicle reserve.
So there's two.
No, there's 25 plus in the class account and the reserve is another 25, so there's, yeah, a little shy of 51,000. And he's saying we'll put another 5 into it this year, so there's about 55,000 available.
Right.
For.
There's two reserves though, I didn't want.
There's two reserves. There's
Yeah.
a fire truck reserve
Right.
engine, fire truck reserve command vehicle.
Right, and then
In the command vehicle, there's 20,500. If we had another 5, it'd be almost 30.
Right. And the other reserve for the engine has about 50,000 in it right now, and another 25 for the current year, so it'd be about 75,000. And then putting
Did
in
we
the...
change those?
Huh? No.
So we budgeted 50 last year. To,
Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah.
we did budget 50. I'm sorry.
And then, I mean, to refresh, the reason for that is, you know, we have our fleet is old. And I'm not suggesting we replace one right now, but my concern is, right, we have one that just hit 20 this year. We have one that's 20, gonna be, 24 years old.
Yeah, you have 18, 24,
Right,
and
so-
20.
You know, we start getting nervous that, you know, possibly, you know, I think, you know, current day replacement value, we're at 1.3 million, so we don't, like, ignore that. And I'm not suggesting that that reserve fund would cover the replacement of those vehicles, but it'd be nice to at least have something there.
So this fire truck reserve for an engine will be around 100.
It'll be 100 as of May 19,
Right.
and it'll be 140 as of May 20.
If we put another 40 in.
Well, that's what's scheduled in the budget, to put a 40 in. So it's far from buying a,
Right,
New vehicle.
a new engine is 500,000,
yeah,
without a doubt.
so
Yeah.
no matter what
Without equipment.
happens,
Yeah, whatever, but we wouldn't be, I mean, we do keep up our equipment, we would not be one of those places trying to add 100,000 on.
so you're looking, no matter what happens, when an engine has to be replaced, of borrowing
It's probably a trash
of
can.
probably 400,000 to 500,000 at that time, because the price went up.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
But again, you know what? The one that's 24 years old, it did get repowered a couple of years ago. They bought it from Salisbury, it's now out of business, but in upstate New York, it is a tremendously high quality vehicle. It's a stainless steel, you know, body, I've been underneath it, it's, for 24 years old, it's impressive.
What's repowered mean?
The engine failed,
Yeah.
so we put a new engine in it.
Remember when we had to lease
Yeah,
a
we
vehicle?
had to
Yeah.
borrow a fire engine from Sullivan County, yeah.
So we have another 40, excuse me, going into the reserve for engine.
In the budget,
Yeah, yeah. So that, if we do this, it'll bring it up to around 140.
right,
And then in the command, we're putting another,
But I'm probably gonna,
right here you have 25.
right, 25.
25 is in the actual budget, not to put into the reserve.
So how much more in 1920 do we want to go into the command?
5,000 is what's in the budget.
And I could've just put 30 in in the equipment line,
Right.
but if I did some crazy good job and somehow stayed under that, then we could have some in there. I mean, we have two, you know, they don't last as long as the regular rate, but, yeah.
So the equipment budget itself, if we take the 25 out, has gone down from what you requested the year before. The year before you requested 32.8.
Right, I mean,
Is there a
I
reason?
understand that, I mean, when I'm requesting that vehicle, I understand the
Right,
consequence.
right.
I can't hit you with like a 80% increase. But, you know, I'm also planning for the future, so I think it's also the right time to buy the command vehicle, because I think bunker gear may go up next year, only because no interior firefighter can wear gear that's 10 years old or older. That is, It's the NFPA, but it's adopted by OSHA. Even if we send them out to training at the county, they would send them back with that. So the current, sets of gear, we started buying 9, almost 10 years ago. So we may have to replace a dozen sets next year. It may be less than that, but I have to be prepared for that. So again, it fits into the right time to make this move. But when you're in the position a decent amount of time and the architect did a budget for a while, you get a little better at trying to keep things smooth. So I think we have tried to replace things at a good pace to avoid big ups and downs. And doing the equipment line when we had to do the SCBA, we saved for at least 3 years to be able to complete that project. Which again was good, keeps us 20 years out of thinking about that, but yeah.
Eric, what is compressor maintenance?
So we have a breathing air compressor that, that compresses the air that we put in the SCBA bottles. So that is regulated. We got the compressor with a grant, which was good because it's a decent amount, and we got it brand new and installed and everything, but it needs twice annual maintenance and 4 times a year an air test. And we need that air test certificate, because that would be up there high on the pest inspector's list, so.
Computer software license.
All right, so one of our basic requirements is we need to report the fire, all fire reports need to get submitted to New York State, which submits them. Nationally, you need software to do that. We have, there's a couple options, and I don't know what that number is, but that reflects what we pay our vendor yearly for that software.
You're in the same boat we are. We don't have a lot of control over our budget. You don't, there's a lot of stuff. You're the same way.
Contractual is difficult, yeah.
Yeah, because if OSHA comes in, when I was a volunteer, if OSHA comes in and says, do this, you're gonna do it. If a truck goes, it goes.
Right.
And it's very difficult. I don't think people understand that. The equipment alone and trucks and things of that nature. You just can't budget per se every year, right?
And there are a lot of departments affected, whether sewer or whatever. The fire department is highly regulated. And the fact that your staff is non-compensated does not matter one bit to them. And I get the point, right? Like, just because they're volunteer doesn't mean that they should have to take more risks. So, again, there's plenty of, there's a lot, we are stuck in our,
Right, because we've had people stand up and say, why didn't you budget for that? Well, who the hell talked about a broken pipe? Same with you. Who knew the OSHA was coming in a year and a half from now doing something else?
right, and we had started budgeting for the fire apparatus one, and we ended up having to, we used that year for when the engine went, so.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
No, I mean, so it was good there was a reserve fund there, but we would have been ahead of where we are.
It's a perfect thing to put out there to the public, and I tell a lot of people, if you didn't have the volunteer fire department, and you had to go to a paid service,
I think people
I
know
wouldn't,
that. I think a lot of people know that.
Yeah, but the millions of dollars that it would cost in salary and benefits, you wouldn't be able to afford it in a small district or a small municipality. So, the people are getting a tremendous thing for a budget of $173,000. And every 25 years buying a $500,000 truck. They need the equipment. So, from that standpoint, I don't see a problem with the budget when
And the
40 items are not firematic controlled. Renting the truck room and paying workers' comp.
I would also, just say per capita, our expenditures on fire protection are inexpensive. You know, I get that that doesn't solve your problem, but if you wanna compare yourself to anything surrounding, what we're paying for per capita for fire protection is pretty inexpensive. Our fleet is smaller than that, but we still have plenty of challenges.
Eric, command or a vehicle, or maybe another vehicle that the fire department calls another name. Is there anything surplus down the city? Or do they,
So we do use the pickup truck model. I have no idea what happens to those, although, like buying it from another volunteer department would be a better idea.
I understand,
I mean, cause
the city's rough, you know, I'm sure.
and they're keeping it
They're
at
used.
least 10 years,
Yeah,
so that
okay,
is beat up.
okay,
But it would be
I agree.
fully set up, but
I
no,
agree.
you know, I act as a battalion chief a lot. So I'm on that list, so I'm in those vehicles. The ones that are reaching 10 years
You
are
don't,
gonna,
you don't want.
Okay,
they're gonna get scrapped and stuff, yeah.
I just thought maybe you could talk to,
Who takes care of all your vehicles?
the mayor. What's his
Well, I
name?
Here,
Yeah.
Couldn't think of his name.
so
At Bloomberg.
Bill de Blasio. But, so the regular command vehicles, we will use the village garage and another vendor. For the fire apparatus, Ruscon has been
Oh, yeah.
our vendor for quite a
Long
while.
time.
And they're a good choice, they're close enough. They will come here to try to address something and us not lose it out of service, because that's a challenge for us. Only 2 engines, and not having 2, you're almost not in service. Because you have to be able to come from mutual aid in your district, so, that's a good option. And there's not a lot out there, right? So.
Not having a second ambulance, you're almost out of service.
Exactly, too. I mean, because when we went down that engine, even the fire coordinator mentioned, like, he's like, how do you really participate in mutual aid right now, which you signed that contract, because you need that too, so.
All right, anything else? Eric, thank you,
Thanks, guys.
thank you. May I have a motion
Make a
to,
motion that we.
motion by Brian Howard, seconded by Ned Lizzy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried.
What was the motion?
To adjourn.